tonight. Not the rowdy, chaotic kind of loud, but the sharp, metallic noise of Marines unwinding after long days, long deployments, and long lives spent living at the edge of certainty. The clatter of beer bottles, the scrape of boots on concrete, the hum of a jukebox fighting to be heard above war stories that grow bigger and heavier with each retelling. Infantry Marines crowd the tables. Mechanics lean near the jukebox, arguing about who ruined what vehicle and why. Older veterans sit in the far corners, observing the room with the quiet gaze of men who once carried rifles through places that don't appear on postcards. Then the door opens, and the noise shifts, not much, just a ripple, but enough that a few Marines glance up. A woman steps inside, plain gray blouse, dark jeans, no patches, no rank, no veteran hat, no clue that she belongs to any tribe in the room. She looks like a civilian who wandered in by accident, which is a problem inside a Marine bar. Heads turn. A pair of Marines snicker. Someone mutters, "Lost tourist." Staff Sergeant Mason Cole notices her last. 28, built like a brick wall, broad-shouldered and loud when it matters, and even louder when it doesn't. He stands with the confidence of a Marine who has survived multiple deployments and believes he has seen everything that walks on two legs. Tonight, that confidence drifts into arrogance. He steps directly into her path. "Ma'am," he says, with a polite tone that carries a sharp edge. "You lost?" The woman stops. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't look offended. She barely moves at all. Her calmness annoys him. Behind Cole, laughs stir. A few Marines nod, approving the confrontation. This bar is theirs. Outsiders don't wander in unnoticed. The woman finally speaks. Her voice is soft, controlled. "I'm fine here, Sergeant." Cole freezes at the rank. Civilians don't identify enlisted chevrons that quickly. Civilians don't speak with that level of precision. But he shrugs it off. Pride is louder than reasoning when beer is involved. Before he can push further, something shifts in the back of the room. A cough. Deep, ragged, wrong. No one notices except the woman. Her attention drifts past Cole toward the far corner where an older man sits alone. Master Gunnery Sergeant Walter Bear Jennings. 69 years old. Retired. A Marine legend whose name lingers in the halls of training commands like a ghost story for recruits. The woman watches him closely. The cough deepens. His throat tightens. His chest contracts. The color of his skin starts fading into something no human should carry. She knows something is wrong. She tries to step around Cole. He blocks her again. "Ma'am," he repeats, firmer this time. "You shouldn't be in here." She doesn't raise her voice. "Sergeant, something is wrong." Cole hears the words, but not the meaning. He thinks she's dodging him. He steps closer, irritated. Her eyes stay steady, not on him, but on the Marine behind him who is beginning to choke. A younger Marine, Corporal Janey Sutter, watches from his table. 21, sharp-eyed, quiet. He sees what others don't. He notices the woman's posture, her hands, her stillness. Her eyes scanning the room like someone trained in places where mistakes get people killed. He leans forward. There's something off here, something different. Before he can stand, a chair scrapes loudly. Master Guns Jennings collapses. The bar goes silent. His coughing turns into gasping, then no sound at all. A Marine shouts, "He's choking!" Another yells, "Get water!" Someone else starts slapping Jennings' back hard enough to bruise him, but the panic is uncoordinated, sloppy, dangerous. The woman moves. Not rushing, not frantic, just purposeful. She slips past Cole before he realizes she's gone. Her voice cuts through the chaos, low, steady, commanding. "Move." Marines step aside without thinking. It's instinctive. Her tone triggers something in them, something deeper than rank, deeper than ego. It's the tone of someone who knows what to do when others freeze. She kneels beside Jennings. Her hands move fast but precise. She tilts his head, checks his airway, presses 2 fingers to his neck with the touch of someone who has done this hundreds of times. Corporal Sutter sees it first. Those hands, she's medical, combat medical. Brooke Harlow, though they don't yet know her name, speaks calmly. No compressions, he's obstructed, he's going cyanotic. The words freeze the nearest Marines. No compressions. Cyanotic. Not vocabulary you learn in CPR class. Not something a civilian says while kneeling beside a dying Marine. Staff Sergeant Cole watches her stunned. A minute ago, he thought she was lost. Now she works with a quiet authority that scares him in a way he can't explain. Jennings' lips turn blue, his hands twitch, then fall still. Brooke lifts his chin, checks again. Nothing. She breathes out evenly. controlled. Airway is fully blocked. He has seconds. She reaches out her hand. Knife. The bar freezes. Sutter whispers, "Oh hell, she's going to do a crick." The bartender fumbles, sliding a folding knife across the table. She catches it mid-movement. A Marine shoves a whiskey bottle toward her. She pours the liquor over the blade. Cole stares, horrified and amazed. She isn't hesitating. She isn't guessing. She's preparing. She finds the spot on Jennings' neck instantly. The cricothyroid membrane. The gateway for the desperate and the dying. Then she cuts. A clean surgical slice. Gasps fill the bar. Marines flinch. Someone curses, but Brooke doesn't waver. Not once. Her breathing stays controlled, calm. She wedges the incision open and reaches for the nearest drink, a thick straw. She bites off the end, slides it into the cut with surgical accuracy. Jennings' body doesn't move. Her lips seal around the straw. She breathes, slow, measured, deliberate. Jennings' chest rises, barely at first, then again, and again. The entire bar watches, breathless. A choking Marine legend, saved by a woman they mocked when she walked through the door. Cole feels something collapse inside him. His pride, his assumptions, his confidence. He misjudged her worse than he's ever misjudged anyone. Brooke keeps breathing through the straw rhythmically, guiding Jennings' lungs, keeping him alive minute by minute. Her eyes never leave him. Her hands don't shake. Her voice doesn't waver. By the time paramedics burst through the door, they freeze when they reach her. The lead medic stares. That's perfect placement. He looks at her with genuine awe. "Who are you?" She doesn't answer. She simply moves aside, helping them secure the makeshift airway before stepping back quietly. Marines watch her like she's something mythic, something dangerous, something revered. Cole steps forward, voice cracking. "Ma'am, I'm sorry." She meets his eyes calmly. "I only did what anyone should." But everyone knows the truth. Almost no one else in that bar could have done what she just did. The paramedics wheel Jennings out. His hand trembles as he lifts it toward her. She places her hand over his gently, a silent acknowledgement, a quiet promise. Then she stands. Every Marine moves aside as she walks to the door. Respect, not fear, guides them. Respect carved from truth they cannot ignore. She pauses at the exit, looks back once, no judgment, only acceptance. Then she steps out into the night, leaving behind a bar full of Marines who will never forget the moment they learned what real strength looks like. The jukebox flickers. Someone bumps it with a fist and the classic Marine Corps cadence snaps back to life. Slow, gravel-deep voices chanting from speakers older than half the men in the room. The bar feels different now, hotter, focused. Every Marine inside is watching one thing, Caroline Bishop. She stands near the pool table, spine straight, breathing low, boots planted like she's bracing against recoil. Matt, taller, broader but rattled, tightens his jaw and tries not to show it. Master Guns rests on a bar stool behind them, arms folded, a silent judge, blood wiped from his lip, eyes sharp with something between curiosity and pride. Caroline lines up her cue. She doesn't rush, she doesn't smile. She plants the chalk, rolls her shoulders once, and draws in a steady breath as if the entire bar is a rifle range and she's sighting center mass. Every Marine leans closer. Caroline steps in, lean, controlled, deadly accurate. The cue cracks. The 4-ball rockets off the rail and drops clean in the corner pocket, barely grazing the felt. A murmur ripples through the bar. Matt swallows hard. He forces a smirk. Lucky shot. She doesn't answer, because she's already lining up the next one. Crack. Another ball disappears. She pivots the table like she's reading a battlefield. Every cluster, every angle, every danger. She calls 3 shots ahead before her cue even touches the felt. Crack, crack, crack. Balls vanish like she's clearing rooms one by one. No wasted movement, no hesitation, no theatrics. Matt's bravado spills right out of him. A whisper slips through the crowd. Damn, she's not just good. She's trained. She's something else. Master Guns exhales a low laugh and mutters into his beer. I told you boys, don't measure a Marine by the size of her boots. The final ball sits lonely near the far corner pocket. Caroline circles the table, steps into her stance and pauses. She feels the weight of all those eyes, doubt shifting into shock, shock shifting into respect. Click, crack. The 8-ball drops, the bar erupts into a roar. Caroline doesn't roar with them. She just stands upright, cue resting at her side, breathing a thin fog of calm into the air. Matt's pride collapses right into his boots. He clears his throat, trying to salvage something, anything. Double or nothing? She steps closer, voice low, steady. Winning once proves skill. Winning twice proves cruelty, and I'm not here to humiliate you. The bar goes silent. Matt blinks. Master Guns lets out a bark of a laugh. God damn, Bishop, that's colder than the beer here. Caroline sets the cue down gently and turns away, but trouble arrives before she can take a second step. The door swings open. 3 men pile in, loud, stumbling from the cold, already angry. Their shoulders bulge against civilian jackets. The smell of cheap liquor follows them like an unwanted squad mate. They aren't Marines, and they aren't here for drinks. They're here for attention. One of them, big, bearded, eyes glassy, spots Caroline immediately, then spots Matt's bruised ego standing behind her. Hey, the bearded one grins. Thought this was a Marine bar. Didn't know they let girls in to embarrass the men. Matt flushes. Caroline doesn't move. Master Guns stands, slow, hands in his pockets. Gentlemen, this is Marines territory. You want trouble, find another bar. The bearded man smirks. Relax, Grandpa. A thin, dangerous quiet settles over the room. Master Gun steps forward, old bones, young fire. The entire bar knows he's seconds from teaching someone a painful memory. But Caroline moves first. She steps between them, calm, empty-handed, unshaken. Walk away, she says gently. No one wants this to go bad. The bearded man grins wider. And what if we do want that? Caroline tilts her head, studying him the way someone studies weather before a storm. I won't fight you, she says, but I'll finish it. A collective ooh rolls through the Marines. That should have been the warning. But ego doesn't listen to warnings. Beard swings first. Sloppy, wide, drunken. Caroline slips sideways, lets the fist cut through empty air, then pivots behind him. She doesn't strike. She doesn't shove. She simply guides his momentum with a palm to his back. He crashes into a table. His friends jump in. Caroline moves like clear water, flowing, redirecting, never escalating. A wrist turn just enough to send a punch off target. A shoulder shift that drops someone into a bar stool. A sidestep that lets 2 men crash into each other. She's not fighting. She's controlling chaos. Master Guns watches with open surprise. Matt watches with open awe. The rest of the Marines watch like they're witnessing something mythic, some old legend walking the earth again. Finally, Caroline steps back, distancing herself from the 3 groaning strangers. You're done, she says quietly. Leave. For a long, tense moment, no one breathes. Then the bearded man limps to his feet, eyes flicking between her, the Marines, and the door. Crazy, he mutters. You people are crazy. But he leaves. They all leave. The door slams shut behind them. The bar stays silent. Caroline brushes a stray wisp of hair from her face. Her hands don't shake. Her breathing doesn't spike. Her pulse settles into a soft, steady rhythm, like she never left training. Master Guns breaks the silence first. Bishy turns. He nods once, slow, meaningful. That's the kind of discipline this corps was built on. Matt steps forward. No swagger left, just honesty. I, misjudged you. She lifts a brow. Yeah, you did. He cracks a sheepish grin. And if we're being honest, that pool table misjudged you too. The bar laughs. Someone slaps his back. Someone else hands Caroline a fresh Coke, unopened, cold, respectful. For the first time since she walked in, the room doesn't feel hostile. It feels hers. Master Gun steps beside her, lowering his voice. You know, Bishop, Marines don't remember the loud ones. They remember the ones who stand when nobody else does. She glances at the door, where the troublemakers vanished. I didn't do anything special, he chuckles. That sentence is how I know you're dangerous. The pool table hums under the overhead lights. Someone restarts the jukebox. The cadence resumes, soft, rhythmic, grounding, like a heartbeat the corps shares. Caroline looks at the bar. These men, this night, this chaos, and realizes something unexpected. She earned this room, not because she was loud, not because she fought, but because she didn't need to. Respect found her. She didn't force it. Master Guns retrieves his hat and turns toward the exit. Walk with me, he says. She follows. Outside, the cold air snaps against their faces. The base lights stretch across the pavement in long white lines, humming quietly in the wind. Master Guns stops beneath one of the lamps. You know, he says, back when I started, a Marine had to prove themselves 10 times harder if they weren't born fitting the mold. He turns, studying her expression. You walked into that bar tonight knowing it would happen. Caroline shrugs. I walked in hungry, he laughs. That too. A silence settles, comfortable, earned. Then he asks, Bishop, who trained you? She looks at the ground, boots scraping a line in the frost. My father, before he passed. What was he? She lifts her head. A Marine. Master Guns nods slowly, something heavy and old settling in his eyes. He would have been proud tonight. Caroline swallows, a quiet ache warming her throat. I hope so, she whispers. Master Guns steps closer, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. Listen carefully. The Corps doesn't need heroes. Heroes get posters. The Corps needs examples. He squeezes once, firm, reassuring. You're one. Caroline nods, absorbing that weight. The wind bites across the pavement. A distant hum of helicopters echoes from the flight line. Master Guns starts walking, and she keeps pace beside him. After a few steps, he says, Tomorrow, Matt's gonna act like he wasn't impressed. She smirks. He's lying. They both laugh, footsteps crunching lightly as they move toward the barracks. The night is quiet now. Chaos settled, tempers cooled, respect earned, and a new story already whispering its way across the base. A story that begins with disbelief and ends with recognition. The lamps flicker overhead as Caroline exhales into the cold, calm, and steady, like a Marine who finally reclaimed a place she never should have had to fight for, but did, and won. The wind scraped along the mountain ridge like a blade, carrying cold that cut through fabric and skin without mercy. Ellie Kane didn't flinch. She lay buried inside a hand-dug hide carved into the mountainside, wrapped in a ghillie suit that made her vanish into the stone. Her breathing was the only movement, slow, steady, disciplined. She existed the way predators existed, still, silent, patient. The command net crackled with careless chatter. A few operators laughed, their voices sharp in her earpiece. Bet the female contractor on Overwatch is already freezing her tail off. Only reason she got the hide slot is nobody else wanted to sit alone on a mountain for half a day. The jokes bounced around like loose brass on concrete. Ellie didn't respond. She'd outgrown the sting of mockery long ago. She let their words fade into the background as she kept her eyes locked on the compound below. Everything looked normal at first glance. Guards on routine paths, vehicles parked where they should be, but the rhythm felt wrong. Too clean, too smooth. Like a pattern rehearsed instead of lived. Her instincts tightened around her like a coiled wire. Ellie eased a gloved finger along the rifle's stock, adjusting a fraction of a degree. Mirage, wind, light shift. She read them the way other people read a clock. Something was building beneath the surface. Something no one else saw. Before the story continues, make sure to subscribe to Military and Veteran Stories so you never miss these true accounts of courage. And drop a comment telling us where in the world you're watching from. Ellie had grown used to solitude. Out here, she felt more at home than she ever did in a room full of people. Her world narrowed to what mattered: the landscape, the wind, the truth unfolding below her rifle. On the SEAL operations net, voices rolled in confident and relaxed. Last-minute checks, quiet jokes, the kind of banter teams used to fend off tension. Ellie cut through with a calm warning. Be advised, movement around the south building shifted in the last 10 minutes. Recommend delaying insertion. A voice sliced across hers before she finished. Ghost range, relax. You're seeing shadows again. Another laugh followed. Let the shooters handle the shooting. Ellie let the silence swallow her reply, but she didn't look away from her scope. The valley hadn't changed, but the truth inside it had. Wind brushed her cheek. She adjusted again, so slightly a camera wouldn't have noticed. Her pulse stayed steady, unnaturally steady. Years behind a long gun had taught her how to convert adrenaline into stillness. Then a voice she respected, the only one she still trusted, cut across a separate encrypted channel. Colonel Mason Holt, old mentor, former Marine sniper. The man who read terrain like a second language. Something's off, Holt muttered, irritation tucked beneath the words, requesting confirmation on intel sources. The same command element that dismissed her answered him with the same arrogance. Intel is solid. Proceed. Holt breathed out slowly. Ellie knew that exhale. It was the sound of a man seeing a disaster no one else wanted to acknowledge. I don't like it, he said quietly. Neither did Ellie. She shifted again, small, careful movements shaped by years of training. But beneath her calm, an old wound stirred. The memory of another ridge, another warning ignored, another day when her instincts were right and cost her partner his life. The official report blamed her. The man responsible walked away clean, and she lived with the weight of someone else's lie. A burst of chatter on the SEAL net pulled her back to the present. "Let's move, boys. Mountain babysitter needs something to write in her after-action report." Laughter followed. Ellie didn't blink. Down in the valley, the Black Hawk approached, rotors chopping the air, dust spiraling around the landing zone. Team 7 prepared to insert, stacking clean, moving smooth, every motion crisp with professionalism. They were doing everything right. But the valley wasn't. Her crosshairs drifted past the team toward the hillside ridges. The men stationed there weren't locals. Their spacing was textbook. Their stance was trained. Their movements were coordinated. This wasn't a defensive posture. This was an ambush waiting for a trigger. Then one man raised a hand. Not a wave. Not idle movement. A command gesture. Ellie's jaw tightened. The first machine gun roared from the north ridge. A second erupted from the west. A third opened from the south. The valley detonated in an instant, sound bouncing off the basin like thunder trapped in a steel drum. Team 7 hit the ground hard, pinned under interlocking fire. Contact, contact, contact. We're surrounded 3 directions. Ellie's finger hovered on her trigger. Orders rang in her memory. Observe only. Do not engage. Do not reveal your position. Below her, men she'd never met fought for their lives. The enemy formations weren't panicked or sloppy. They were surgical, coordinated, professional. Her mind flashed back to the Hindu Kush, to the soil shifting, to her partner pushing her down, to the blast, to the lie that followed. For one sharp second, her hand trembled. Then the tremor stopped. Her breathing flattened. Her heartbeat fell into a perfect rhythm. The world narrowed to the crosshairs. The first target, the man calling the ridge commands, fell before he heard the shot. The second dropped half a breath later. The third never even turned. SEAL Team 7 heard the distant cracks and saw enemies collapsing without warning. Who the hell is that? Air support? No aircraft on station. Then what? Who? Ellie didn't answer. She shifted hides, camouflaged so deeply the mountain could have claimed her as its own. Another shot. Another, precise, quiet, devastating. Every bullet bought the SEALs another breath. Every movement kept her invisible a few seconds longer. Up on that ridge, Ellie Kane had no backup, no authorization, no one watching her 6. She only had a valley full of Americans about to die because someone higher up refused to listen. What would you have done? Stayed silent? Or stood your ground? Ellie already knew her answer, and nothing in the valley would ever be the same again. Ellie pressed her knee into the cold stone, sliding deeper into the terrain, each movement measured, precise, ghost-like. The SEALs were pinned below, but alive, breathing because of her. Every second counted, and every second Ellie owned. She had minutes, maybe less, before the enemy's sweep reached her ridge. But she didn't panic. That wasn't her way. Her eyes flicked to the advancing fighters. Patterns, spacing, coordination, American accents. Clear, native English, calm, controlled, not local militia. Someone had trained these men to kill Americans, and they were hunting her. A crackle in her earpiece shifted her focus. A voice she hadn't heard in years but never forgot. Low, firm, older, unshakable. Ellie, I see what you're seeing. They aren't after Team 7, they're after you. Colonel Mason Holt. She exhaled slowly, letting the calm settle over her like armor. Copy. That was all she said. Fear wasn't in her vocabulary. She simply analyzed the battlefield, calculated trajectories, and prepared her next move. The SEALs scrambled for better cover in the wadi below, unaware of the primary threat creeping along the high ground. Ellie slid out from her hide, feet whispering over gravel, blending with shadow. Each movement was precise, rehearsed, instinct honed over years of solitary vigilance. Her shoulder burned from an earlier graze, but pain was irrelevant. Survival wasn't optional. Boots slid over loose shale, her rifle poised and ready. One bullet grazed her shoulder, tugging at the ghillie fabric, but she kept moving. One false step could mean death. Her target list was precise, surgical. The first machine gunner went down cleanly. Another fell as she adjusted, her body a conduit of lethal focus. Team 7 froze for a moment, staring at the lone figure moving against the ridge. Who was this woman? But their hesitation didn't matter. They followed her guidance, taking the narrow path she indicated, trusting instinct over identity. Every order Ellie whispered saved lives. Every shot she fired bought seconds that became breaths. Above them, Colonel Holt added precision fire from a higher ledge. 2 unseen shooters carved holes into the enemy advance, dismantling their cohesion. Each crack of the rifle split the air, each round a small victory in a battle that seemed impossible. Ellie's rifle clicked empty. She slid back to another ledge, loading another magazine, counting rounds in her head, calculating risk with every second. The enemy tightened, forming a web around the wadi, but the team moved into the funnel she'd scouted hours ago, the Serpent's Cut. Narrow, defensible, their only way out. She perched halfway up the ravine wall, firing down into the approaching enemy. One after another, the fighters fell, each shot precise, necessary, and cold. Holt mirrored her cadence, his own rounds finding targets that threatened Team 7. The enemy adapted, a new wave surged, and then a familiar figure emerged. Calm, deliberate in a way that made Ellie's chest tighten, broad shoulders, commanding stance. The face that haunted her nightmares, Sergeant Cole Bishop. He moved through the smoke like a predator, directing fighters with a cold efficiency Ellie knew all too well. He was the man whose false intelligence had led to her partner's death, the man who walked away while she carried a dying teammate in her arms. Her heartbeat didn't spike. It slowed, cold and precise. Crosshairs aligned, calculations clicked into place. She didn't hesitate. Bishop's first command was his last. Ellie's shot cut him down instantly. His formation faltered, giving the SEAL space to breathe, to regroup. But more danger was incoming. An RPG operator stepped forward, aiming at a cluster of wounded below. Ellie's magazine was nearly empty. Last round, chambered. She fired, clipping the RPG just as it left the launcher. It spiraled harmlessly before detonating against a cliff. Below, Maddox shielded the wounded, debris scattering, chaos reigning, but the SEALs were alive. Ellie didn't pause. Her body moved fluidly, instinct guiding every decision, every shot, every breath. The Black Hawk rotors finally thundered through the canyon, salvation slicing through the smoke. Door gunners scanned the terrain, eyes sharp. The remaining enemy retreated, dragging wounded and chaos behind them. Team 7 exhaled, unified in relief, but exhausted and bloodied. Ellie lowered her rifle for the first time, the adrenaline receding, leaving fatigue and a quiet, simmering satisfaction. She had survived. The SEALs had survived, and the mountain had borne witness to one woman's resolve. Hours later, Ellie woke to antiseptic and bright lights. Walter Reed. Her shoulder was bandaged, immobilized. Every minor movement reminded her of the graze, but she didn't flinch. 2 suited investigators came first, polite, precise, probing. Questions about miscommunication, fog of war, friendly fire. Not once did they mention the American accents. Not once did they ask for Bishop's name. Notes were taken, then filed away, the truth boxed for convenience. Colonel Holt arrived after them, plain clothes, coffee in hand, exhaustion etched into his features. He placed a small drive on the bedside table. All the proof, every transcript, every satellite capture, every false order. They thought they could bury it. They were wrong. Ellie didn't touch it. She merely nodded. Holt continued. He's under review. Might face consequences. Could be worse. It's not justice, but it's something. Later, Lieutenant Owen Pierce entered quietly, eyes heavy, hands in pockets. I doubted you, he admitted. I shouldn't have. I was wrong. Ellie's reply was calm, final. Now you know. Chief Maddox followed with a note, written simple. You saved us. We'd trust you again without hesitation. Weeks passed. Her shoulder healed, investigations faded, but her legacy remained among Team 7. Holt returned with a proposal, a training program for long-range operations, decision-making under pressure, instinct over flawed orders. She could choose fieldwork, teaching, or both. For once, the choice was hers. Months later, Ellie stood on a quiet range with a young SEAL, Marcus Hale. 800 meters out. Frustration tight in his jaw. You're fighting the wind, Ellie told him. Stop resisting it. Read it. Feel it. She showed him subtle signs. Heat shimmer, dust flickers, grass moving before the air shifted. He steadied, fired. Steel rang. A small, quiet victory. Ellie allowed herself a faint smile. Not pride, not relief, recognition. The mountain, the ridges, the long nights alone had meant something. Later, she lifted her phone to a photo. Her partner, smiling in sunlight, arm around her shoulders. I kept my promise, she whispered. The wind carried her words away. She closed the image, lifted her face, and let it absorb the mountain's cold clarity. Loyalty, courage, integrity. Ellie's choices had defined them all. Some heroes never appear in headlines. Some acts of bravery are unseen, silent, and decisive. Ellie Kane's story was one of them. She never asked for acknowledgement. She never sought it. But when the moment came, she acted with precision, courage, and unshakable focus, saving lives, defying orders, and refusing to stay silent. Her legacy would live in those she protected, those she taught, and in every quiet act of courage that followed in her footsteps.